Hello, and welcome to Coffee on Korriban. So, Chapter 2 of the Book of Boba Fett just dropped. I say just dropped, it was a few days ago, but it seems like a lot of people kind of came around and are enjoying this episode a lot more than the first one. I know my dad and my brother did not like the first episode hardly at all, and they really did enjoy the second episode. So, I loved it, but a lot of people were really shocked that Coach and Nick from Echo Base Network did not. They got a lot of flack for it. We're going to talk about that. And we're also kind of going to do a review of this episode and some things that I've been thinking of now that I've seen the episode through other people's reactions, probably the equivalent of about 4 or 5 times now. So we're going to get into that today here on Korriban. Oh man, it feels so good and so bad to be a Star Wars fan these days because we know that the fandom is always going to be divided and it will never be completely agreed with everything. And that is especially true with the Book of Boba Fett. These first two episodes have definitely shaken up Star Wars, as I believe the Hollywood Reporter predicted it would. Um, but let me know in the comments down below right now whether you're watching this as it premieres or watching this after the fact. Let me know. Uh, is this show delivering what you wanted? Is this too much of a shakeup in Star Wars? Do you think that's healthy for the Star Wars fan base? And is the Star Wars fan base even something they should really be concerned about, or should they just be making quality Star Wars content? Which I guess is also debatable whether this is good Star Wars content or not. Um, I think it is. That's just me. I love the Book of Boba Fett so far. I really liked the first episode. I absolutely loved the second one. I guess they're chapters, I guess. But I'm extremely happy with this show and what it's delivering so far. Star Wars is about the world building, and I think they're building this world beautifully. Tatooine is a planet that we thought we knew everything about, but there is so much more than sand, even though it gets everywhere, to this world, and we're learning a lot about that. We're going to get into that discussion, but first, I just kind of like to publicly state my support for Coach and Nick of Echo Base Network. I would not be doing YouTube or Star Wars content if it weren't for them in their channel. They've been a huge inspiration for me. So give them your love and support if you have not already. And Coach and Nick, thank you for what you guys do. And thank you for being true to your opinions, I guess, and not swaying to the mob. So if you don't know any of the drama that happened, essentially, right after the episode dropped, they posted their review of it. They're right after it ended, credits start, they start the review. How are they feeling in that moment? And it was very negative. And a lot of people were shocked by that. I told them this when I was on their stream just a few minutes ago, but I think a lot of people had that vicious of a response because they went from this emotional high of loving this episode, thinking it delivered everything that they wanted out of it, and thinking that everyone would agree with them on that. And then the first thing they see on YouTube is Coach and Nick, some of the guys that are the most positive voices in the Star Wars community, especially the Star Wars YouTube community, didn't like it. And I think the thumbnail had something to do with it as well. The thumbnail was like big giant letters saying this is bad or this is not good or something like that. It was very apparent that they did not like it right off the bat. And so I think those two conflicts of emotions of thinking that what you just witnessed is the best and everyone is on your side, and then getting slapped with the reality that, oh, there's some people that don't agree with me, and pretty vocally. And a lot of people had a very strong response to that. I know emotionally I did. I was almost a little offended. Like, how could someone that I agree with on so many issues feel this certain way about this certain thing that I feel this way about. And I didn't say any negative comments. I spoke to Coach in a few comments and also privately, um, not just about that, about other stuff as well. But a lot of people were very vocal in their response. Coach and Nick said they lost a lot of subscribers, to which I say they don't need to be subscribed to you anyway. Um, but there was a very big backlash, and I know uh, for Coach especially, it was not the funnest time for them. So I just would like to say publicly my support for their channel, and that kind of hatred has no place in Star Wars. Disagreement, absolutely. Differing opinions, absolutely. Even telling people that they're wrong in their opinions is fine. But outright hatred and saying that you are a terrible person or anything along those lines just because of how you feel about a certain way is not right. And there's always a way to educate people on saying, I think your opinion is wrong because this, and you explain your information. That's one thing. But just outright hatred for an opinion is not. You can't change people's feelings of how they feel about a particular episode. I loved this episode. There's no amount of storyline or plot holes or makeups or makeup mistakes in like the wardrobe or anything, or continuity errors or retcons that they did with the original trilogy or anything like that that can sway me in how I feel. I loved this episode. You can't take that away from me. In the same way that Coach and Nick did not feel happy or positive about this episode, there's no way you can take that away from them. And they did say, and I thought this was really cool that they said some members of the community reached out to them and kind of explained certain things and enlightened them on, oh, this is what this character was. This actually means this. This group is this, and kind of explaining some of those little details that filled in the gaps in what they were experiencing with that episode. Didn't change how they feel. That's perfectly valid. That is, it is what it is. You're not going to change how someone feels. But just the fact that they were willing to learn more about those things and see it from a different perspective is really telling into how genuine they are in how they feel about this episode and the show as a whole. And they've said multiple times, these are only the first 2 episodes. They are open to the show going in a different direction or hitting them a different way. It's just these first 2 episodes, specifically the second one, that didn't go right up their alley. And that is perfectly fine. So if you were one of the people that viciously attacked them, I don't want to say I don't want you to be part of my channel, but really consider, are you attacking them or are you legitimately bringing up criticisms to their opinions or their ideas? Because I'm all about being rational here. I get into the deeper, more philosophical aspects of Star Wars. You probably all know that. And I like to have the reasons behind why I feel certain ways about certain things. I don't like the sequels at all. And I have tried to have rational ideas behind how I feel that way, as opposed to just, oh, those are the worst movies ever. No one should ever watch them. They're not actual Star Wars. Who's Rey? Like all those kind of things. I don't want to feel that way. I want to say, look, I don't like this movie because this and this and this. And I feel when we approach it from a more rational, more respectful, and civilized aspect, then we can all get along, even if we don't agree on everything. So that's all I'm going to say about that. We're going to get into this review of the episode or chapter 2 of the Book of Boba Fett, Tribes of Tatooine. I loved this episode because of the world building that it gave us. But we'll start at the beginning. So they're in the palace. They have this Nightwind assassin that they captured, and they say he doesn't fear any man. 88 says that. He doesn't fear any man. Perhaps he fears the Rancor. They drop him into there. Surprise, there's no Rancor. We kind of felt that there was no Rancor. Some people thought it might be Moochie in there. It was a little bit of a cheesy bait and switch. I didn't mind it. It was what it was. I don't know. But he spills the beans that it was the mayor that sent him. Boba goes to confront the mayor, and the mayor says, why don't you think about who really hired him? And there's a couple things that I've heard people talking about. It could be the major domo, which I don't believe we have a name for. We know the mayor is Mok Shaiz, but we don't have a name for the major domo, I believe, as far as I know, unless it was in the subtitles or something. Which his character is a little interesting. He's a good actor. He's doing his job correct. But I don't know if he exactly fits with the Twilight major domo personality that I would expect. I don't know. But anyway, they go to confront the mayor. The mayor says, why don't you think about who's doing this? Which leads us to believe that it could be that major domo guy, or what's his name? Garza Fwip, I think is her name. The lady Twilight in the bar, the upscale bar. Could be her. Because she could be the one behind everything. I don't know. There's a lot of theories. We don't know where the show's going yet, but that's a possibility. And then we hear the drums, and she's saying the twins are in town. And we hear the drums, which is a very scary and ominous entrance with these Hutt twins, which I don't believe we have names for, but we know they're cousins of Jabba the Hutt. And I don't know if they just learned of Jabba's passing or if they hear that Bib Fortuna just got killed and he was kind of like a puppet ruling for the Hutts, because everyone knows the Hutts are in charge. So maybe Bib Fortuna was kind of just their like acting Hutt on the planet of Tatooine, if that makes sense. And maybe now that Boba Fett has killed him and is trying to take over his territory, they feel it necessary to personally come to Tatooine and assert their dominance. But anyway, they show up. There's kind of some threats passed back and forth. We get introduced to who we now know, or who I now know, is Black Chrysanthemum. I didn't know who it was. I thought he looked cool and very menacing. And after doing some digging on his character, he is definitely very menacing. It's really cool. In the comics, he has like metal implants in his knuckles to be able to like beat people up more. He had the metal knuckles, but I don't believe they were like surgically implanted into his hands. But it's really cool. This is a character that everyone seems to love, that they're bringing into live action. And it didn't feel like a cheesy cameo to me, like some of the cameos in Mandalorian did. It felt like the plot needed it. If the plot requires a certain character to show up, it's not a cheesy cameo, or it's not fan service if that character shows up. So if someone wants to hire the baddest bounty hunter in the galaxy, like in the Bad Batch, of course you would call Cad Bane, right? So when Cad Bane shows up, it's not, oh, this is a terrible, cheesy cameo. This is only for the hardcore fans. It's like, well, in that galaxy, that's actually what would happen. And with Black Chrysanthemum, that is most likely what would actually happen. So a lot of people are excited for that. I'm excited to see where it goes, and also do more research on his character and see what his backstory is, so I can be better prepared for the rest of the season. But he shows up. They're talking back and forth. Boba goes back to the Bacta tank, which a lot of people have issues with the flashbacks. I don't view them as flashbacks. I view them as two separate storylines. And I'm a fan of weird storytelling, different storytelling devices and plot lines. Interstellar is a great movie. Tenet is my favorite movie, and Inception is my second favorite movie. So if that tells you anything, it's that I love Christopher Nolan and I love weird storytelling. So I like the two parallel storylines because they're adding to each other and supplementing each other. We wanted to know how he got the gaffy stick. We got that. We wanted to know how he's such a brutal fighter in The Mandalorian when he's introduced before he gets his armor back. Now we know that it's because he trained with the Tuskens and he's part of their tribe now. And that's solidified at the end of the episode. A quick fast forward. But then we're in flashbacks of him training with the chieftain's lady. I think it's a lady. Pretty sure it's a lady. It's a skinny dude if it is. But training with her. I'm just going to say her because I'm assuming gender and I don't care. Training with her with the gaffy stick, and he has the little trainer gaffy stick with just like the ball end, not the actual spike. And then the train comes. I didn't know it was the pikes until I saw other people's reactions, so it wasn't apparent to me. But of course, now it makes sense with Spice. Of course, it's the pikes. Like, we all know that. A lot of people were clowning on the character design of the pikes. I didn't mind it. They wear different things on different planets, I'm sure, just the same as you would wear something different if you went to Alaska versus if you went to Bahama. Just you'd wear different things. Military units do the same thing in different climates. So we see the train. They shoot the bantha, which is terrible. You should not kill the animals if you want people to like their show. But we killed the bantha, killed a few of the Tusken Raiders, and Boba says, "I'm going to stop the train." And I was almost questioning, why does he need to stop the train? Why is he invested in this tribe? And I think kind of the through line is he's a different Boba. The Boba that we knew, that was the stone cold killer bounty hunter. Don't mess him. He doesn't say anything. He just gets the job done. That Boba Fett died in the Sarlacc pit. It's very symbolic how they show that later on in this episode, which I think lends to the awesome storytelling of this episode, particularly the flashback part of it, which is a majority of the episode. I believe it's like 70% of this episode, or the total 2 episodes, is the previous or the first timeline. And I'm there for it. I don't have a problem with it at all. We wanted to see, I'll take a little bit of a tangent real quick. We wanted to see how Boba escaped the Sarlacc pit. We got it. We wanted to see how he got the gaffy stick. We got it. We wanted to see how he is such a brutal fighter with the new techniques that he's using. We got that. We wanted to see how he got to the point where we saw him in the Book of Boba Fett. We're getting that. All the things that fans wanted to see, we're getting. But I feel like just because it's in a flashback, a lot of people aren't really connecting with it. They're thinking that this is one main storyline and the rest is flashbacks. It's just supplemental stuff that is just exposition. And I don't think it is. It's 2 distinct timelines, 2 little storylines that are working in parallel. And it's not a main storyline in a flashback. It's Boba Fett. It's the Book of Boba Fett. This is the story of his life. We're just getting a glimpse at 2 parts of it simultaneously. So that's my little tangent on that. But he goes to what we now know is Tashi Station. I didn't know that on first viewing. I thought Cammy and Fixer looked very familiar, but I couldn't place it. Now we know it's Cammy and Fixer. Cammy is named in the subtitles. Fixer is not. But it's them. If you look at side by sides with the deleted scene from A New Hope, it's them, most definitely. In Tashi Station, really cool nods. They didn't introduce them as Cammy and Fixer, but it's just another little Easter egg for the fans. The proper kind of fan service, in my opinion. But we see them. Boba takes out these guys very brutally, I might add. So everyone clowning on the action in the first episode, saying Boba doesn't know how to fight. Well, there you go. He broke the gun, smashing the guys over the head with it, and he steals all the bikes, which is very reminiscent of the cowboy beating up the bank robber gang and stealing their horses, which goes back to the Western roots of Star Wars as a whole, which is I think is amazing. I don't have any problems with it. I think it's brilliant storytelling because Star Wars does lend itself very well to stealing from other genres, from samurai films, from Western films, from space films that came before it. Just Star Wars has a history of doing that, and I love that they are continuing on that tradition. Like I said, I just love this episode and this show as a whole. It's doing everything that I didn't know I wanted it to do, but now that it's happening, it's what I want, and I love it. So he steals the bikes. He teaches them how to ride. We get a montage of them learning to drive them and jump from them, which is cool. A lot of people are not liking. I say that a lot, but some people, I'll say some people don't like how he's acting childish towards the Tuskens. They're a simpler species than humans. And there's also the language barrier. So if he's like, like a bantha, and like doing this, and the sign language is really the only way they can communicate, I don't have a problem with it, because that's the way he can communicate with them. If he just talks normal, they're not going to know what he's talking about. So we get the bike scene, and then they go and they stop the train. There's a really big action sequence. I thought it was great. It's the good cowboys taking over the train that the bad guys are driving, or the bad guys doing the heist from the train in the old Western movies. It's classic. The conductor droid was very creepy in how he jumped out and then Grievous off into the sunset. But they took it down. They got the resources, the spice, the water, the guns, and they rounded up the Pikes. And he said, go back to your syndicate and tell them they are no longer to use these lands. The Tuskens have ancestral claim to these lands. You can't use them without paying a toll, which is very interesting. Star Wars Obsession brought this up in one of X-Wing streams. This sets this Tusken tribe up to be very well off financially. That is, if the Pikes actually do agree to pay the toll, which they can afford it. I don't think they're petty enough to come back and kill all the Tuskens. But if this tribe benefits financially from their standing up to the Pikes and joining forces with a human in Boba Fett, that could get around. The word of that could get around to the other tribes that, hey, maybe there's something with working with other people. And later on in the timeline, maybe that's why that the tribe that Din Djarin meets up with is more willing to deal with them and to affiliate themselves with the humans because of this happening earlier in the timeline. If you follow the timeline, I'm getting very tired. I need another sip. How do you like my cow mug? This is a Christmas present. And I don't know. I like it. It's a rainbow cow. Okay. Anyway, they take the train. They threaten the Pikes. They give him black melon to walk off into the sunset. They go back. Boba gets his gift. I thought at first was like a Tusken holocron that the chief was giving him. A lizard. Thank you. So he blows the dust or spice. Was it spice? Into his face. The lizard jumps up, goes into his head. And this is not uncommon in Star Wars. We've seen the brain worms from the Geonosian Queen in the Clone Wars. This is, from what I gathered, a Tusken rite of passage. In becoming a man or a full member of the tribe, you go through this process. You get your gaffy stick, you forge it yourself, and then you are a Tusken Raider. You're in the clan. Another way they solidified that, which I thought was really cool, was the clan leader, the chieftain, was telling him the history of the tribes of the planet of Tatooine, saying, we were here before the sands. We were here when there were the oceans. And in Tusken culture, if I'm not mistaken, you don't tell outsiders history. You don't tell them where the tribe came from. You don't tell any of the history of Tusken culture to outsiders. They have to be a warrior in the tribe. And that was told to us in Knights of the Old Republic, in that you had to kill the Krayt Dragon to deliver the pearl to get the history from the chieftain. And it's really kind of proving that Boba is now in the tribe with them. Really cool. I don't know if anyone else picked up on that, but I did. Anyway, we get into the lizard acid trip. Someone called it a lizard bong earlier. But we get into the lizard acid trip scene, and we get the waters of Camino. We get the branch, which could also be in the ocean of Tatooine when there were oceans. Going back to the history of the planet, we know the Force works this certain way. The Force has memories associated with items or locations, like a Force nexus. But whether this was the Force or just the lizard on his brain doesn't matter, because we get flashbacks, true flashbacks of Camino, of Daniel Logan as he's looking out, seeing the Slave One, and yes, it is the Slave One, fly off on a mission. What mission, we don't know. But how many times did that happen where Boba had to watch his dad fly away to go do important daddy work, and he was stuck there on Camino, who would then be bullied by the other clones because he was special and set apart and different. And we get the branches of this tree, just like the inside of the Sarlacc pit, wrapping around Boba and holding him in, which he has to break. He breaks the branch off. And that's why I said earlier, the Boba that we knew before died in the Sarlacc pit. A new man was what emerged out of the Sarlacc pit, and that's symbolized with him breaking the branch, breaking out of the Sarlacc pit. And what better of a way, I think Kyle Katarn pointed this out in his reaction, what better of a way to show that than having him use the branch that was holding him in the Sarlacc pit that was going to devour him, and forging that into his new weapon, the gaffy stick. I thought it was really powerful. That scene blew me away. If you saw my reaction, you saw my face. I loved that scene. We got so much, and it was really powerful. It was a really powerful storytelling element that they chose to use with that acid trip. So he comes back to the tribe. The lizard jumps out of his nose. He forges his gaffy stick, which my biggest criticism of the episode is the chisels he were using were chisels. Like, go to Home Depot and pick up some chisels from the tools section. That's what they looked like. They should have made them look a little more specialized or raw instead of actual chisels. So that was my big complaint with the episode. Kind of small, but there you go. But he forges his gaffy stick, and they do the dance scene, which is the Maori haka dance, traditional from New Zealand. But beyond that, it's the Tusken tribe, and it's again solidifying that he's in the tribe. He is a Tusken raider. He's a Tusken warrior in this tribe. He's not an outsider that's with them or training under them or teaching them things. And it's really setting him up to be a leader. And I think the Tusken tribe is going to come back in a big way. I think him establishing those leadership skills and showing that he can be that figure in a group is really going to be important. I do have questions as to how he's going to do that in the current, present, second timeline, in going against all those Hutts. Like, how is he going to prove that he is the new Jabba the Hutt and not just a bounty hunter trying to take over that territory? Because as far as we know, he's only got him, Fennec, 2 guards, the pit droid that helps him get dressed in the morning. Like that's all we know of so far. So I know the next episodes are going to explain that, and I trust that the storytelling is going to continue to reveal the right information at the right times. I'm not stressed about it. I'm loving this show so far. You guys know that. If you've watched it to the end of this video, thank you very much. I know it was a very long video. So if you've made it this far, I really appreciate your time. To anyone who's subscribed recently to my channel, welcome. And I hope you enjoy the discussion. We'll be coming back with some live shows in a week or two. I've just kind of been taking a break off because New Year, wanted to get some things in order, spend some more time with my wife and my daughters, because they're only toddlers once and not for that long. But I love this show so far. I'm going to keep doing reactions as as often as I am able to. It's not easy waking up at 3 in the morning, filming, editing, uploading, dealing with the Disney copyright stuff, going off to work without sleeping. But based on the second chapter, it's worth it because I loved it. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Drop a like or dislike if you care, because it really doesn't make a difference. And it's not like you can see how many dislikes are on it anyway. But that's going to do it for this video. Thank you for watching. May the stash be with you. And I will see you wherever I happen to see you in the galaxy. Take care, everyone.